What's up, y'all? Nature Girl 30 here, and I hope everybody who was watching this has had a very Merry Christmas, and I hope that they were able to enjoy themselves this Christmas now that Christmas is officially over. Well, as of today. Today is the 26th, so it's over. But we all know that Soul actually made its debut on Disney Plus on the 25th. So for those that have watched it, it's going to be a mixed bag. Well, at least there are people that's going to really like it. There are people going to like it. But for this person here, there are 5 things that I hate about this movie. No doubt. I absolutely hated this film. I did not enjoy it at all. I tried, but I absolutely hate it. So instead of doing a short review, because I actually have too much rage fuel for this movie, I have decided to make a top 5. So these are the top 5 things I hated about the movie Soul. Starting off in the movie, it seems like that Joe had a huge passion for music, but he didn't know how to convey it towards others until he started playing. He had some good qualities about him, but of course, when he had the opportunity to play with that jazz group that he really wanted to play with, and things happened, he just became less and less likable as things went on. He had so much tunnel vision. He had that drive, but more of an obsession to get back in his body in order to become, to play in that band because of that one big moment that he did a lot of not so good things along the way. I mean, the guy practically cheated death. He kind of ignored everything around him. He kind of ignored hearing really important things that could make him change, or at least make him rethink about how he was when he lived and learn from that. It's just he had just so much tunnel vision. I was surprised he didn't become a lost one because he was obsessed with everything he did. There was hints of that throughout the entire movie, but that never happened to him. But over time, when he got mad at 22, the thing was that even though he and 22 had a deal, the guy practically ignored it the entire time. Let's be honest, 22 is genderless, so I'm not by any means going to say he or she. But the thing is that he just became less and less likable as the movie went on. I really wasn't rooting for him. I was rooting more for 22 because it seemed like 22 was learning a lot more, which actually leads me to my next complaint. "22 learned far more about life than Joe did. And this is supposed to be a movie about Joe and his appreciation of life when he died. Because he really wasn't appreciating life when he was living. He had tunnel vision about being better than he was. And he had an overall goal to be a jazz musician. But it became more of an obsession, like I said before. But he didn't really understand or even see the beauty of things when he was alive, let alone dead. But it seems like 22, someone who never experienced life in their lives, who was a virgin to it, actually appreciated a lot more as time went on. Since 22 had, for some reason out of the blue, which is weird, how in the world can a soul who has never been on Earth before, who has never lived before, have an opinion about Earth, a planet that is never lived on? Like, that whole thing was weird. Saying it was boring being on Earth. It was not, why would I appreciate this? The fact is, where would 22 learn all this if 22 has never lived it? But I digress in that aspect. That makes 0 sense to me. But either or, when 22 had the opportunity to live in Joe's body, 22 learned more about life than Joe did, which, I don't know, it kind of messes things up a little bit, because isn't Joe supposed to be the protagonist while 22 is a secondary character? So if the secondary character learns more than the protagonist, and the protagonist still learns nothing until, no, I can't even say he learned anything in the very end. But the fact is that it's sad, because you would think that through 22, Joe would learn how to appreciate life more and learn that he missed so much trying to be focused on being a jazz musician, that instead of living life while trying to achieve a goal, or at least observing things around him and absorbing it and appreciating it, through 22, he learned nothing the whole time. 22 learned a lot more, which is a bit off to me. Yeah, It's gotten darker. I'm not gonna lie about that, because I have been trying to grasp the concept of what they mean by soul. They can't automatically assume that that the people who are watching the movie automatically knows what soul is. People can make an assumption of what soul is, but may not know what soul is as a whole. It would have been nice to know exactly what their definition of soul really is, besides it being called soul. Now, the soul can also represent the spirit coming out of the body, as well as your passion or flavor for something. When it comes to soul food, if anybody has tried Southern soul food, you can taste the passion and the love that goes into it. The same thing when it comes to music or soul music like R&B and jazz. You can feel the heart, the pain, and the passion that comes out of that artist when they write that music or sing that song. You can feel that. Soul can also soul can represent how a person is feeling, as well as what person's purpose. I feel like there were at least one or two or three or four messages they try to convey here, but it wasn't really narrowed down. Now, I know that this is supposed to be a Disney movie, but it would have been nice if they actually kind of narrowed down exactly what their definition of soul was, to actually make a main message or a main theme overall in the film. But I felt like that it just was a message that just wasn't very cohesive. It's not that it was a bad message. No means it was bad. It just wasn't well connected. I kind of wish it was, but I felt like that it was fractured throughout. When it came to the mother, you can tell that the mother was very passionate about her son's security, wanted to make sure that he was secure when she was gone, and he had a very steady job and he was able to take care of himself. But then you also saw the passion and the heart that came into the barber. When the barber wanted to be a veterinarian but couldn't because of family circumstances, he chose to be a barber, but he developed a passion for it because he found something that he would gain from it. Learning about his customers, being an observer, making the whole area a comfortable place to be. Hence why you see the same customers coming in and out. And they always talk and chat, but it was always learning more about the people that came in his store. So that was his passion right there. Would that be considered his soul? The same thing, the soul of his mother. Would you consider her being overly protective of her son's security to be part of her soul? Or was it like talking about just the spirit? Now, I'm not trying to be facetious here. This is what I'm trying to reiterate. There are multifaceted definitions, multi-layered definitions when it comes to the word soul, if I can relay it that way. There's so many meanings when it comes to the word soul that it would be nice for them to pick one of them, or at least maybe two that's similar, that you can narrow it down to where it has an overall message. It just seemed like they couldn't do that, and that bothered me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, this made me rage. This made me rage more than anything else. I am sick of the typical Disney ending. I am sick of the typical Disney ending that puts everything on an even playing field, like giving someone the consolation prize that has the same worth as the grand prize. That's not, everyone gets gifts. Everyone gets equal rewards all the way around. This is a movie called Soul that pretty much talks about death, but in a very neutral type of way. So if you're talking about death and appreciating life while you live it and observing things and having things worth living for, why in the world are you going to give everybody a consolation prize that is equal to each other when they haven't earned it? Let's be honest, Joe really hasn't earned a second chance. He didn't. He practically cheated death, pushed everybody aside, broke the rules to get back to his body in order for him to play with that jazz band. He earned nothing, while 22 earned far more than Joe did. And the one thing that bugs me about Disney is with every ending, they make everything even. Smooth, even playing field, having everything worth the same. That bugs the crap out of me. That's what they did with multiple series and films that they have done. It bugs me to no end. It's time to evolve. It is okay to talking about accepting death, because that's what Joe had to do. Joe died. Joe had his shot. He didn't appreciate what he had when he was there. And if he earned it, and I hate to say it like that, but let's be honest, in this movie, if he started learning through 22 how to appreciate life and actually teaching 22 something, and not only that, let's go back to the fact that 22 did learn a lot more than Joe did. And I know I've already talked about it. The one thing that bugged me was the girl in his class. The girl in his music class that had more passion for playing for the trombone than anything else. And Joe couldn't even do that. Joe couldn't even inspire her to stay on the trombone. He didn't even care. That dude was so focused on going back and being bigger than he was that he didn't even care about his own classmates. And the sad thing is, students. He had that one student that actually was able to achieve what he wanted to achieve. He's like, oh yeah, hey man, how you doing? But that one little girl that could play the trombone, play her butt off so very well. The one person who noticed her was 22. Not even him as a cat noticed her. So why in the world does he have a second chance when it showed throughout the entire picture that he never really appreciated what he had until it was gone? You're giving him a second chance. Why? Because of Disney. Even playing field all throughout, even though it wasn't earned. I hate this trope. I hate this trope in every film that I watch. I hate this trope in every series that I watch. And Disney is notorious for this. Disney is notorious for this in their TV series, and they are notorious for this in their films. Drama for the sake of freaking drama. I hate that trope. There was no rhyme or reason at all for 22 to turn into a monster of denial, anxiety. There was no need. Why? Because 22 was the bane of its own existence. 22 was the one that was actually behaving badly on purpose to keep its routine where it was, in the spirit plane, wherever they was, in the soul world, whatever you want to call it. I think was the great before. The thing is that 22 wanted to stay in the great before and didn't want to live and didn't want to do anything that it was forced to do. And it was creating havoc and making everybody and making all the mentors go mental, because 22 did not want to live. 22 did not want to do the one thing that they were supposed to do, live. So 22 was the one that created all that chaos. All that anxiety was not because of anything else. All that anxiety was because of 22. But somehow they made it to where that it was Joe, it was the mentors, it was everyone putting anxiety inside 22 when there was nothing there. There was no anxiety to be built. There was nothing there at all, which made the ending like a what? It made no sense to me at all for 22 to become a lost one, because 22 wasn't obsessed with living. 22 shouldn't have anxiety for living, because 22 never lived. So why would you have anxiety, and why would you have all this obsession over something you never had, even though you had a taste of it? The thing is that it made no sense to be like, I'm not good enough for it. Who told you that? No one. And I know everyone's like, well, there are people that constantly keep telling me. No, I'm going into the context of the movie. At the very beginning, 22 did not want to live. 22 made that perfectly clear. Hence why it struck a deal with Joe to get the badge so he can go back into his body. 22 did not care to be alive until 22 experienced it. So why in the world would 22 be obsessed with living that quickly? I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I think that whole ending, the whole part was just unjustified. Well, guys, those are the 5 things that I hated about the movie Soul. Now, would I advise anybody to actually watch this film, even though I talked about the 5 things that I hated about it? To be honest with you, it's up to you. This movie was incredibly neutral and very basic at best. The lines that they could have went and talked about to create those talking points for families, especially after the movie was over, never happened because they actually maintained neutrality all the way through, if that makes sense. They made sure that everything was neutral all the way through. They did not want to cross lines when it came to religion and the afterlife, and they definitely made sure that they didn't mess with African American culture. They only dipped a toe in it and pulled it right back out. So if you really want to have a very, very neutral movie that is extremely safe, then go ahead and watch this film. You're not going to really be challenged by anything. You're not really going to be thinking about anything. Unless you are a thinker, you're going to be annoyed just like I am. But I kind of wish they did touch on some topics, especially when it comes to living, when it comes to being thankful about, not so much thankful, but more appreciative about life and the things you have. I really wish that they touched on that at least, but they wanted to make sure they didn't offend anybody when they made this film. So like I said, if you want something that's very safe and basic, watch this movie. But other than that, y'all, I don't think I'm gonna watch this movie. I don't think I'm gonna touch it ever again. But I still want to hear what you guys think about this movie in the comments below. Let me know how you feel. I'm done with this film. Anyway, I'm done, y'all. Nature Girl 30 out. Peace.